On March 15, 2023, a routine update was completed on the pricing algorithm used by several prominent e-commerce platforms based in San Francisco, California. The main actor in this incident was a software company known as TechTrend, which provided a widely adopted dynamic pricing tool employed by numerous retailers to automatically adjust product prices based on market conditions, competitor pricing, and consumer behavior. This algorithm was a crucial component of the digital infrastructure that powered real-time inventory and sales strategies across a vast array of global e-commerce websites. During the update, a minor flaw in the algorithm's code was introduced, specifically within a function responsible for aggregating data from various pricing sources. The flaw originated from a misconfiguration within the software's settings that allowed it to improperly calculate price adjustments. In particular, the algorithm was set to prioritize discounts based on competitor pricing, but failed to account for outlier data, which meant that even the smallest price increments from competitors could trigger significant price increases. This oversight was compounded by a process gap within TechTrend's internal review procedures, where the algorithm's complexity led to inadequate testing before deployment. As a consequence, there was no comprehensive audit of how the algorithm interacted with existing supply chain systems. Within hours, the impact of the algorithmic flaw began to surface. Affected retailers reported an average 20% increase in prices across their platforms, leading to widespread confusion among consumers and significant operational strain on e-commerce systems. By the end of the day, data indicated that approximately 2 million users were impacted, resulting in a significant drop in customer engagement and a 15% reduction in sales for some retailers. Across the network of platforms relying on TechTrend's algorithm, projections indicated potential losses totaling up to $350 million within the initial week of the price escalations. In the aftermath of the initial incident, early reactions within the organization were characterized by confusion and urgency. Internal emails flooded the incident response channel as team members attempted to diagnose the issue. Some employees suggested that the fluctuations were due to seasonal pricing strategies or market trends, while others began searching for a technical solution to revert the pricing changes. These discussions highlighted a lack of clarity regarding the system's behavior and the cause of the price fluctuations. Meanwhile, initial external signals began to form as users took to social media and forums to report anomalous pricing. Monitoring systems triggered alerts concerning unexpected spikes in price changes, but the responses remained disorganized, primarily because the root cause was still unknown. As reports of outrageous product prices surfaced, minor media mentions began circulating, with headlines questioning the integrity of online pricing systems. Analysts speculated that the rapid price escalations could lead to a significant backlash against the affected platforms, and discussions emerged within internal teams about strategies to manage public relations and customer support inquiries. By the end of the day, a portion of affected retailers reported a decrease in user trust, as customers expressed frustration over their perceived exploitation during a time when many were seeking deals. The following day, as the situation began to spiral further, TechTrend's leadership convened a crisis management meeting. Senior management emphasized the urgency of addressing the flaw and mitigating its impact on clients and their customers. However, their assurances were hampered by a lack of precise information regarding the algorithm's failure and its implications for the overall e-commerce ecosystem. With each passing hour, the discontent among users continued to grow, and tech analysts speculated on the risk of market instability as algorithmically driven pricing was being interdependent across various platforms. Tech Trends support teams were flooded with inquiries as retailers requested urgent assistance in resolving the issues stemming from the algorithm's adjustments. Some businesses attempted temporary manual overrides of the pricing mechanisms to alleviate customer concerns, though this led to inconsistencies and further confusion in their inventory systems. The interconnected nature of the e-commerce infrastructure compounded the disorientation. Issues were arising not only from Tech Trends' algorithm, but also from how other supply chain software components reacted to the sudden price surges. As these complexities unfolded, cross-platform dependencies became painfully apparent. Multiple retailers utilizing different systems were experiencing similar disruptions, suggesting an alarming pattern that pointed back to the misconfiguration. Retailers that relied on Tech Trends' algorithm soon discovered that their inventory levels were being inaccurately reflected in their online catalogs as the algorithm's miscalculations flowed through to their dynamic pricing structures. This recursive issue created a cascading effect, leading to stock shortages for popular items and prompting customers to abandon their shopping carts in frustration. By the third day, panic spread throughout the e-commerce landscape as financial analysts began warning of potential long-term repercussions if the situation was not resolved quickly. Reports of price discrepancies were displayed across various media outlets, underscoring the escalating chaos. While some retailers sought to distance themselves from the algorithm by announcing temporary price freezes, the repercussions reverberated through the industry. Tech Trend faced increasing pressure from stakeholders to take responsibility for the fiasco, with shares in some associated companies abruptly tumbling as customer confidence dwindled. Amid mounting anxiety about the longer-term impacts and the integrity of automated pricing systems, stakeholders prepared for the upcoming days, bracing for an investigation that would seek to uncover the systemic vulnerabilities that had been exposed during this crisis. The urgency of resolving the algorithmic flaw was front and center, but as the narrative unfolded, it became clear that the issues at hand extended far beyond a singular error in code. The e-commerce landscape was on the verge of significant transformation as it grappled with the consequences of automation that could no longer be ignored. On the fourth day, as the ramifications of the pricing algorithm flaw compounded, Tech Trends engineers proposed an emergency patch to be rolled out. However, internal miscommunication regarding the urgency of deploying this fix led to delays. The patch was subjected to standard testing protocols, which extended the timeline unnecessarily. Retailers expressed their frustrations through press releases, urging Tech Trend to expedite the resolution. Meanwhile, legal teams began preparing for an influx of potential class action lawsuits from affected businesses and consumers. By the end of the fourth day, reports indicated that upwards of 15% of online transactions had either been canceled or left abandoned in carts due to pricing errors, translating into significant financial losses. Major retailers indicated this could result in losses totaling millions of dollars, with some estimating that brand loyalty would suffer a long-term decline. As the situation escalated, various platforms began issuing public apologies and reassurances of forthcoming improvements to their pricing algorithms, even as they struggled to implement fixes. In response to the crisis, a series of legal notices began circulating among affected retailers, amplifying scrutiny of Tech Trends practices. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission and state-level attorney generals initiated inquiries into the incident to assess potential violations of consumer protection laws. Authorities highlighted that numerous consumers had been misled into making purchases at inflated prices, prompting the need for swift regulatory intervention. On the sixth day, after several missteps, TechTrend finally began the deployment of a revised algorithm specifically designed to account for the pricing discrepancies. The rollout aimed not only to rectify current issues, but also to restore trust among their client base. As part of the incident response, affected companies were also notified that adjustments in their back-end systems would be necessary to sync effectively with the changes made by TechTrend. This caused further disruptions as individual retailers scrambled to make required updates amidst ongoing consumer backlash. As the exposure phase progressed, leaked internal communications surfaced, revealing prior warnings about the risks associated with the untested algorithm. Journalists began compiling reports that detailed how stakeholders had expressed concerns to TechTrend leadership well before the crisis erupted. Internal chat logs indicated that some engineers had identified potential flaws, but were overridden by managerial decisions, emphasizing rapid deployment over thorough testing. By the end of the week, the repercussions of the algorithm's failure became increasingly evident. Numerous businesses filed bankruptcy claims due to irretrievable financial loss and damage to their market position. Some small to mid-sized retailers reported that they could no longer sustain operations because of plummeting sales and damaged reputations. Arrests were made as part of ongoing investigations into potential fraud schemes, exploiting the turmoil created by the pricing crisis, including individuals illicitly manipulating pricing data for personal gain. Within weeks, TechTrend faced significant legal repercussions as customers and businesses initiated legal action, resulting in multiple subpoenas issued against the company. Reports indicated that the firm had substantially underestimated the potential fallout, with analysts projecting a prolonged industry-wide impact as consumer trust waned. As months progressed, public sentiment turned sharply against major online platforms, emphasizing a critical need for reform in algorithm governance and consumer protections against automated systems. Regulators advanced proposals aimed at enhancing transparency and accountability in algorithmic decision-making processes. By October 2023, TechTrend was forced to undergo a reevaluation of its internal processes and compliance measures. The company engaged in comprehensive audits and risk assessments to avoid future incidents. Simultaneously, significant personnel changes occurred, with several executives resigning or being dismissed in the wake of the scandal, further driving home the seriousness of the circumstances. Ultimately, TechTrend initiated a broad settlement process with affected retailers, mobilizing resources to compensate for losses incurred during the algorithm failure. As the final status report indicated, the global e-commerce landscape had experienced irreversible changes. A marked increase in regulatory compliance and accountability measures had been enacted across the industry. TechTrend, facing long-term reputational damage, implemented numerous structural and policy changes in the months following the crisis. Final status update. As of October 2023, TechTrend remains operational but under increased scrutiny, with ongoing regulatory compliance measures in place and long-term reforms initiated to address algorithm accountability and consumer protection.